Caffeinated conversations with Brooke Allen.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Caffeinated Conversations with Brooke Allen. This is Season 2, Episode 12. We have a full house today. I am so excited. It felt a little balmy this morning. It was actually not 5 below, so that was exciting news. We have a lot going on today, a lot of guests, and so you may want to grab 2 cups of coffee and maybe even a snack. The conversations we're having today are super important. Just to give you a heads up of what we're talking about, we will talk about helping seniors beat the winter blues. Also, weight loss drugs, are they good or are they bad or do they work? We'll find out. And using AI for good. Also, a new twist in our Curtains Up segment. This time, not a live theater, but a historic one, the Redford Theater. I'm super excited to have that conversation with John. First of all, I do want to say a big thank you. A lot of people have been reaching out to me asking about my twins. Daisy did have some medical issues. She's doing good, so I'm super glad about that. It was a little scary. It seemed like it was a heart condition. So she is doing much better. So I'm grateful for that and grateful for all of you who reach out to me and text me and DM me and stuff. So thank you. The other issue I want to talk about, and I do want to have your insight on this because as you know, we all, if we're a parent, we all have that mama bear come out in us at some point in our lives when it comes to our kids. And I've always been pretty open about the challenges that Carson has faced, and he knows full on that I'm talking about this today, so I have his permission. They are 13, like I said, and so he has had a struggle with bullying, and during the holiday break, right before break, it was pretty bad at school. So when we went on break, he had said he loves dressing up, and so he had said, I would really like to wear a suit and a tie to school, whether it's bow ties or whether it's business ties, whatever it is. But that makes me feel good, makes me feel like I'm a superhero. So he did. So he got, I don't know how many suits and ties for Christmas and his birthday. So every day since we've been back at school, he's been wearing, as you can see, he's been dressing like that. Well, I got a note from the school last week asking if he could maybe not dress so businesslike every day and maybe be more casual. One, because he dresses better than the teachers. Which was interesting to me. And then second, because he was kind of standing out. And so for me, I'm thinking, okay, here's a kid who has struggled with being bullied. Why wouldn't you want him to feel secure? And if another kid has a problem with the way he's dressed, then wouldn't that be on the kid? I don't know. So this has been an ongoing discussion. There have been emails flying back and forth. I will not name the school district. But I want your insight because I think it's super important. When I pick them up, I see kids coming out with pajamas and slippers. And to me, I'm thinking, how is that, what he's wearing, not appropriate, but wearing pajamas and slippers to school is? So I would love to hear your comments. And like I said, Carson is fully aware that I am talking about this today. I have his permission, and I just really think this is an issue that we need to address because if you're already struggling with being bullied, why not do something that makes you feel secured? But the bigger question is, why not talk to the kids who are actually doing the bullying? Okay, so that is my mom moment for today. Again, I would love for you to comment, DM me, whatever, give me your insight because this has been a big struggle. And I know that he has been super upset. He was with his dad this morning when he went to school, and he did dress down today. So I did know that, and it was funny. I almost started crying when I found that out because I'm like, we don't need to have him conform to that. So, okay, I'm done with that. We are going to start the show officially. Lisa Tobias is here. You are a senior geriatric specialist, and seniors and winter blues. They are a thing. I know we all struggle with feeling kind of down when the sun's not out, but when the sun comes out, no matter the temperature, it's a whole big thing, right? I mean, you feel all of a sudden you're happy and life is good, but seniors may not be able to even get out.
Well, it's a huge topic for me. Also coming out of the holidays, which I think I've shared with you before, from November 1st till January 1st, I try to keep them happy because the holidays are very difficult. And when we finish the holidays and we start at January 1st and it's a new year and it's cold out, the one thing people really need to understand about seniors, they're afraid to go out in this weather. They're afraid to fall. They're afraid something's going to happen, and it's very insecure. So what we as human beings need to do is go to seniors. We need to go to them and make them feel special. And the light thing you were talking about is real. Seasonal affect disorder is not only real, but it affects seniors much differently because the lack of getting out. So I always suggest when it's sunny out, open your shades. We talk about light therapy. But more importantly, it's about getting families involved and getting them involved in activities even when they don't want to, because loneliness is part of the struggle of the senior blues. And interaction, being a part of something, being a part of a community, being a part of activities to make yourself feel some sort of worth during this period of time. I know at my age, getting up there, I feel that way too. And last week with the cold weather
it was miserable.
and not seeing any sun at all, I really saw a change in the seniors I work with. So I think it's imperative, just as on a moral compass and as a human being, to recognize that and be aware that we need to be there for your seniors. It doesn't matter if it's a loved one. It can be anybody. But be aware of the fact that there's loneliness, there's depression, and being involved in the things that you're passionate about are going to make a change for that.
So what if family, they don't live nearby?
So if they don't live nearby, I really highly suggest getting a very easy iPad. Seniors don't like don't like technology, and maybe people that aren't seniors don't like technology either. So there's very simple programming we can do on an iPad to automatically put FaceTime on there. It's a button, and I help people navigate that journey with that technology because I'm so good at it myself.
I'm like, should we talk about that? We probably shouldn't talk about that.
We don't want to talk about that. But that's one way when someone lives out of town. Also, when you have family that live in town or friends that live in the area, I highly suggest you reach out to them and we go to them. Say, I know it's cold and you don't want to go out for pizza, but why don't I bring it in to you on Sundays? And know that weekends, no matter where seniors live, whether it's in an apartment, in a community, which I hope most seniors live, that we have that connection and we reach out to them and go to them. Because the one thing I always implore to people about seniors is as you age, it gets very difficult to do things. Moving, whether it's physical, cognitive, emotional, and getting out of your comfortable space is so very difficult. So we have to be the advocates for them and make them feel that dignity so it's not like, oh, you can't go out. We want to come to you. So what can we do to make your life better, but doing that with dignity so they don't feel like they're a burden?
You know, I think too, getting mail, right? I mean, getting a card in the mail or a package, a care package. I mean, even that would lighten someone's day.
It does. And you know what? We do that. I write letters all the time. And during the holidays when I know it's really difficult and even after, I put notes on people's door just thinking of you. Hope this brightens your day. Candy always works too, and food.
I'm sure. And coffee. Right?
Anything that makes you feel special, that is different. And I try on a daily basis to make a difference in somebody's life, even if it's coffee or a letter or getting in touch with them, and physical touch too. Remember that most people that are older after a certain age are without their loved one. So that loneliness of winter blues is there too. So human touch is incredibly important. And I always make sure it's okay with them. Can I give you a hug today? Can I hold your hand? No one's ever said no.
I'm sure, right?
Because we need that sense of touch and community and knowing we're not alone in our sadness during this time. So I think having that emotional connection is also part of helping people get through the winter blues.
So there's something I know about you, that you love to dance.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
And you dance with the seniors, right?
I do.
So
we had a theme week last week. We had an homage to Dolly Parton. And I did a speaking engagement on Wednesday night, and I went home at 10 and made up a whole line dance to 9 to 5, and then taught it. Right? And then, we had amazing press out there. And more importantly, they did it. They learned it. They did it better than me. And it was very empowering to feel like this was something that made a difference. And we're still doing it. So Cupid Shuffle's up next for February.
Well,
for Hearts. Come hang out with me, because dancing is a part of getting over that, and to know how people feel. I always say, and I think Maya Angelou probably said it first, but people don't remember what we said. They remember how we make them feel. So when we can't communicate when we're older, and we might have some cognitive impairment, I know how someone feels when I walk up when they smile, because that makes a difference and they remember that. And the feeling and the impression we leave with someone is something that there's no price tag on that, because we're all going to be there. And guess what? A huge percentage of us are going to live past the age of 80. And we would want someone crazy like me, dancing, singing, and being a part of your life and making it better. I hope I do anyways, because I want that for myself, and I want to advocate for everyone who's aging, because I think this is the greatest generation that I work with that's ever lived. And, you know, the baby boomers are right around the corner. So all of these things are tied in, not just with dealing with the winter blues, but aging in general and how we feel about that and how depressing that can be.
So if somebody, maybe they don't have a senior citizen in their life that they could reach out to, I mean, is there a way that people may be able to go adopt a senior? Or,
Yes.
I mean, there's got to be ways to help.
There are communities everywhere. I work in a community. There are places you can volunteer through, whether it be Jewish Family Services, through Catholic Family Services. There are organizations that we are always looking for people to come volunteer, hang out. And volunteering doesn't necessarily mean doing an activity. It could be hanging out in our cafe having lunch, or it could be taking someone to lunch, or it could be playing Rummy Cube, or it could just talk about your life and ask about them.
Ask about them, right?
You know,
because that's one thing.
Talking isn't a problem for me. But
me neither, I don't think, but
right. But hearing their story,
right, and caring about their story,
and actually listening and asking questions, and how did that make you feel? Because I think as you get older, the important person you were in your career, you change, and the dignity you want to feel the same way you felt when you were younger. But that changes, and it really does. People treat you differently. So it doesn't matter if you're 8 or 90, I'm going to act the same way. But more importantly, you have to be kind of 80 to hang with me, because those are my peeps. But I mean, that's truly how I feel. And I feel like when you give back in that way to a senior, it's going to come back to you tenfold.
Okay, so if somebody, I mean, you do help people, you
Yes.
help seniors, you help
Yes.
families.
Yes, I do.
So how would people reach out to you?
Well, I said the best way to reach me is Google my first and last name.
It's a tricky one.
It is, because my business is Elisa J. Tobias, MSW CDP LLC.
It's a lot.
So it's a lot. But if you Google my name.
But spell your name, because this trips everyone up.
Yeah, it looks like Alyssa, so it's ALYSSA. And believe me, I'm right when you Google senior consultant, my name pops right up there. I work by day at Walton Wood, and I run the independent living. And by night and weekend, I have my own business, and I work with seniors, families. I speak publicly. I do it all. I've worked in every facet in geriatrics. So now that I've hit the pinnacle of everything, I feel like it's time to give back.
Okay, thank you. And, you know, it's always such a pleasure to see you. And in an ironic twist, her husband is actually on it a little bit, but they're not on together today. So thank you, Elisa.
Thank you for having me, Brooke.
Okay, so Tracy is coming on. She is from Jewish Senior Life, and they are actually holding an event later this week on Thursday. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Brooke.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. So they are holding an event, and this one is a little bit of a tougher topic. Because it is about knowing when your loved one, whether it be a spouse, a parent, a family member, needs to go into assisted living. And this is a tough conversation for people.
This is a really tough conversation, as I'm sure my colleague Elisa can attest to. And so we're talking about a role reversal, you know, where your parent took care of you your whole life, and now you're saying to them, well, we want to take care of you, and they don't want you to take care of them.
Right.
And so this becomes a really push-pull. It's a journey. It's not overnight. And it's really making sure that your loved one has control over the next decisions coming up in their life.
So Thursday, it's in the evening, right?
Yes, this Thursday at the Coville Apartments in Oak Park, we're having a seminar talking about when is it time to move to assisted living, how do you talk to your loved one about moving to assisted living. It's going to be myself and my colleagues Rick Gorn and Janet Anton, and we're really looking forward to helping people, giving people talking points, tools, try to help remove them from the situation and think about the subject, and really avoid telling their loved ones what to do.
Oh, okay.
More of choices and ideas
And wouldn't this be good for you?
yes.
Right? I mean, because I know when you're having that conversation, I mean, there are certain things that happen that kind of, I can't think of the word right now, but start that conversation. I mean, if they fall a lot, if there's certain things that maybe somebody just can't take care of anymore and they need help.
Right, and I think a lot of us, see our families during the holidays, and that's a time when we notice if there are changes to hygiene, changes to something I always suggest is if you're going to pick up your loved one for a holiday dinner, go in to get them. Don't wait for them outside, and go and just check out the where they're living. Okay. Are there papers piled up?
Are things kept, right? Kept
Exactly.
Up and, okay.
Is for some people that is their norm, but for many others there's not. Take a peek in the refrigerator. Is there food? Is the food spoiled? Are there bills that you can tell aren't being paid? Medications are huge.
They are huge.
And I think, if someone is, step one of these conversations is medications really are priority, because if you miss your blood thinner, if you miss your blood pressure medication, or you take too many, you could have very, very significant health challenges that could then warrant a move to assisted living right away, and or something, crisis mode.
Right, because especially if they live alone, and there comes a point, I think, where everyone, I mean, as sad as it is, that they shouldn't live alone anymore, right? And they have to be, I mean, you want them to be taken care of and in a safe space.
Right, and to you and I, it's great. We have so much life enrichment, the dancing. We just had a party for the Lions. We had 9 Dan Campbell lookalike coaches come, and 100 residents talking about their lives and their times going to the Lions games. There's so much quality of life and dignity and enjoyment, which is so good for the brain, as we know.
Right.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes.
There's truth to that.
Right.
But it's helping someone get to that decision on their own. And I think that's the respect that Elisa was also talking about. We want to show that respect and say, this is what we want for you. We want you to want it for yourself as well, though.
Right. Okay. So this is happening Thursday evening, 6 to 8, 2 hours.
Yes.
Is it a free event?
It is free.
Okay. So what can people expect?
So they can expect discussion, the reality of the discussion about how challenging this is, tools to talk with your loved ones about making a move, things to look for that might prompt the conversations, and to talk about options in the assisted living arena, because the good news is there are a lot of options.
There are a lot of options, but there are also, not only the hesitancy about moving your loved one to an assisted living, but also the staff, the community around there. I mean, you can walk into a place and think it's wonderful, and then walk in unexpectedly and find out that they're not really being taken care of. And people, I think, mistrust that sometimes because they want their loved one to be in good hands.
That's a valid concern. And I think one of the things that Jewish Senior Life, we've been around since 1907, the longevity of our team members, from maintenance to nurses to nursing support team members to social workers. I think it speaks a lot about how we are caring for older adults. There's just that longevity piece.
Well, it's funny because I have been there in full transparency,
Yes.
right? I've toured it and I have absolutely loved it. It's a little neighborhood, right? You walk in and you see like a puzzle table and you see people smiling and it's like you're in a little town. It is just really awesome. So I love that place. I think you guys do such great things in the community, and what a great resource to offer people and caregivers who may need to actually start that conversation.
Yes, we're really looking forward to being able to connect with community members. Everyone is welcome. It's free. Just give us a call at 248-592-1155 to register.
Okay. And can they register the day of?
They can. They can up until Thursday.
Okay. And where's this at again?
This is at the Coville Assisted Living and Memory Care Community in Oak Park off of 10 Mile in Greenfield.
Okay. Thank you, my love.
Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure to see you.
You too, Brooke. Thank you for having
No,
me.
thank you. Okay, Josh. Josh Tobias, full disclaimer, Elisa's husband.
My claim to fame.
Your claim to fame, of course. So you are with the Ira Kaufman Chapel, And it seems like we're having a bunch of tough conversations. We're starting the show off with a lot of important but tough conversations. And I know that when it comes to funerals and planning, and people don't like to pre-plan these events, right? I mean, we all know that it's going to happen at some point.
Yes.
But the whole idea of pre-planning, I think, lends the whole thought to, you know what, I know what I want, but I also know that my loved ones in their time of grief are not going to be saddled with these decisions.
That's exactly right. And people have a really difficult time. It leads in very well with what Tracy and Elisa have been talking about. People have a very difficult time facing their own mortality. And having to make these decisions maybe when they're still healthy and they're not facing an imminent passing is a difficult decision to make. But there's a huge benefit to doing it. There are several benefits to why pre-planning is important. One of them is it gives you an opportunity to express exactly what you would want for your own funeral. Get your own wishes written down, which everybody doesn't always have the opportunity to do.
Right. And then you get those wishes written down, but then you actually talk to your family about it, right? And say, listen, man, this is what I want.
Exactly. And most times, I think only a couple times where the family hasn't honored their loved one's wishes after they've passed. But it's also a huge benefit for their family. When I do a pre-arrangement, when I meet with somebody, whether it's for themselves or if somebody's pre-planning for mom or dad, I try to treat it as much as if I were making funeral arrangements, getting to the point where I'm gathering enough information so at the time of need, it's one phone call to me, I have all the information that I need, and we're just ready to go and start planning the funeral. As difficult as it can be to pre-plan your own funeral, it's much less difficult than during the emotional time right after somebody has died.
For sure. Because when you're in the thick of it and it's happened unexpectedly, I mean, you don't even know where to call.
Exactly.
Right? So the whole pre-planning aspect, I know there's a huge financial aspect to it too.
There is.
Right? And that's beneficial if you pre-plan.
There are a couple of different financial aspects to it. Some people will come to me and just want to get their wishes written down on paper. Other people like the idea of getting everything prepaid. The benefit of prepaying is you're paying based on today's prices. So if somebody's going to live a long time, they don't have to worry about any increase in cost of the funeral over time. But the biggest financial benefit, and I know Tracy and Elisa can attest to this, people are living longer and longer, and which is a beautiful thing. But one of the downsides to that is people are outliving their money.
Right.
So more and more people have to apply for Medicaid at some point as they get older. You have an opportunity to prepay up to just under $15,000 towards your funeral expenses. As long as it's an irrevocable funeral contract with whatever funeral home you choose, it's considered a non-countable asset. So not to get too much in the weeds, but
It
to
doesn't
qualify
go
for
again.
Medicaid,
Right.
you have to have less than $2,000 in liquid assets.
Okay.
If you have $50,000 in the bank and you're living in one of these assisted living communities, you're paying, let's say, $10,000 a month, that money disappears in no time. 5 months later, you qualify for Medicaid, but nothing's prepaid for your funeral. You can prepay for your funeral. It's not a liquid asset anymore. It's a non-countable asset. You qualify for Medicaid a little bit sooner, and everything's prepaid. You take that burden off of your family at that point.
And you know, I mean, it is sad to say, and I feel bad saying this, but it is a burden sometimes on
is.
family,
It
right?
is.
I mean, and especially you throw in the grief aspect of it, and it is horrible.
It can be overwhelming.
Yes.
The number of times I've had somebody in my office and the comment is, wow, it's not cheap to die. And it's not.
It's not.
It's expensive. It's expensive to live also when you're living in an assisted living. That's not
Right.
a cheap
Or
proposition
just in
either.
general, right?
Right, of
Right.
course. But it's very important, and it's peace of mind for yourself. It's peace of mind for your family when those decisions are already taken care of and the financial aspect of it is already taken care of as well.
Okay, so so if somebody was thinking about pre-planning, what is the first thing they do?
I will always first want to find out what is their intention. Do they want to be buried at a cemetery? Do they want to be cremated? What is their wish as far as the disposition of their body? If they want to go with a more traditional burial, the first step is always to figure out which cemetery you want to go to and buy a plot.
Okay.
That's the easiest and
easiest.
simplest way, because that helps guide if that's taken care of before they come to see me, and I'll help guide that process as well if they need it. that really helps navigate the rest of the process.
Okay.
Once you know where, because every cemetery has different guidelines and different rules and regulations.
Well, not to interrupt you, but I do know that it's an issue sometimes when you want to be buried with your family.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't pre-buy that, sometimes there's no space.
Correct.
And then people are like, well, I want to be with my family. And then other people are like, does it really matter? Do you know where you're with your family? I mean, but,
Right.
but you want, that's important.
Right. And I have these conversations with the folks that run the cemeteries all the time. We have so-and-so that we're pre-planning for. There might not be space right next to the people that are already buried there.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I say? Let's find a single space or two spaces if it's a couple as close to their family members as we can get. And that conversation happens all the time because people aren't thinking about this. Or if somebody comes into my office because mom passed away and they say, well, I'll deal with mine down the road. Well, at least the cemetery part maybe want to think about now so that everybody can be together.
Right, for sure. And that is a big deal. Obviously,
is.
It's a big deal to me. When I go visit my grandparents, I want, they're there and I can be there.
Yes.
The whole idea of, okay, so what about convincing family members that this is a good thing to do? And maybe they don't want to plan. Like if you're trying to convince your parent, like, maybe we should talk about this. And they're like, oh, I don't want to plan, pre-plan this. That's bad luck. How do you start that conversation?
It's a much more challenging conversation with family members than it is with the folks who are planning for themselves.
Okay.
Facing that reality for mom or dad is a very challenging conversation to have, and some people just don't want to face it. Okay. So it's just a matter of laying out the benefits and what you're really gaining out of it. You're not pushing anybody out the door, but it's a benefit to everybody involved. It's a benefit to mom and dad. It gives them peace of mind, and for yourself, because when you try to explain how emotional that time is going to be, especially somebody that hasn't gone through it before, and taking all of those decisions off the table because they've already been made, some people just don't want to face it, and they don't, and that's okay. There are plenty of people that don't pre-plan, and we take care of things at the time of need. But explaining the benefit and making sure they have all the information necessary, and then they make their own decision.
So if you had one thing to say about grief, what would it be?
I talk to families about this a lot, especially after a funeral has happened and people are navigating the post-funeral process of all of the financial aspects of closing accounts and transferring assets and dealing with grief at the same time, is don't put pressure on yourself. People always have this idea that I need to be in a certain place or a certain way along the grief process at a given time. And they beat themselves up because they still wake up crying for no apparent reason in the middle of the night. And I just try to explain, there are no rules to this. Don't put pressure on yourself. It's going to happen at your own pace. Don't let anybody else tell you where you should be in the process. And give yourself a break.
Thank you. That's good advice. And I think too, for the people who are like, don't not say anything, right? Because a lot of times somebody will pass and somebody will say, well, I said nothing because I didn't know what to say. Right. Say something.
It always helps.
Right? Just anything.
100%. It expressing yourself and having a support system around you is so vitally important. So you're not going through it alone.
Yeah, when my previous husband died years ago in California, and I was like, well, the casserole stopped, and then you're on your own, right? And you kind of have to deal with that, and that's a whole nother phase.
It is, and your life won't be the same, but you create a new reality, and it just naturally happens. It's not something that you can force. It just happens.
Right.
And you have to be open to letting it happen.
And you can't be ashamed.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, so if anyone wanted to pre-plan, you are the guy to reach out to.
Yes,
Right.
And if anybody just has questions, I'm happy to have conversations, even if they're not ready to pre-plan. If they want to start going through this process and deciding what they want to do, they can reach out to me at irakaufman.com. That's IRAKAUFMAN.com. All of my contact information is on there, and I'm happy to chat and have any conversations you want to have.
Okay, Thank you so much, Josh. Pleasure
Thank you
to
for
see
having
you
me.
again. Thank you for bringing the eye drops. Last time he was here, I needed them desperately, so we brought them again. And I didn't need them today, so I'm excited about that.
Progress.
Yes, it is
Thank you,
indeed
Brooke.
progress. Thank you, Josh. So every month here on Caffeinated Conversations, we actually highlight a nonprofit. It is called our Caffeinated Act of Kindness. And this month has been It's a Grand Life with Craig Nash. And this is all about grandparents raising grandchildren. And it started out as a podcast for Craig and has blossomed into this movement almost. And I'm so grateful. I'm going to miss you, man.
I'm going to miss you, too.
I've seen
What
you
am I going to do
I've
next
seen you-
Monday?
I know, right? I've seen you every week. Although rumor has it, we're going to run into each other at Row House now. So I'm excited about
Wonderful.
that. Okay.
Yep.
So It's a Grand Life.
Yes.
For somebody who may not know what that is, tell me.
Well, It's a Grand Life. It started as a podcast for grandparents who are raising their grandkids. And after doing so many podcast interviews, we realized that we've really got a problem with the economics of 30% of the grand families that are raising their grandkids. They're living at or below the poverty line. So I reached the point where it was like, I can't just keep talking about this without doing something about it. So we started a not-for-profit that was approved by the IRS in August 16th of last year. And we've been able to raise a lot more money than we thought in an effort to help grand families all over the country that are really, really struggling. 30% of grand families are at or below the poverty level. And in fact, your audience, I don't know if you knew this or not, but someone in your audience sent in $750 because we put a need out there where one family needed a gas dryer and a gas stove, and that need, thanks to Caffeinated Conversations audience, has been met. So what a... Yes. Absolutely awesome. So we're really going to miss coming back on this in your program.
I know, right?
Right.
But see, that just speaks to the mission, right?
Yep.
And a nonprofit, there are big nonprofits, there are smaller ones, there are ones that are just starting, and It's a Grand Life is out there doing such good.
Yes.
And the whole podcast, that you started and has grown, and the poverty level is amazing because, we've been talking about the senior population this whole time.
Right.
And if you're already struggling financially with where to live or even pre-planning your funeral, and then you're taking care of a child that you maybe never thought you would have to.
Or 3 kids.
Or 3,
Right.
right? Right, because sometimes it's not just one child.
Right.
So people help you in what way? How can we help you?
Well, you can refer grandparents who are raising their grandkids that may need a little help. We partner with other entities to help us with the vetting of folks because we have a small team and we don't know everybody, all the grandparents in Southeast Michigan that need help, and that really provides a huge benefit. And also look for you have amazing guests on your program. Like the last 3 folks, I just loved them. And the gentleman is Josh, who was just
yeah.
up. Doesn't he sound like he sounds like very calm, like you're sitting, dearly beloved. You just really, you just felt relaxed and just did a beautiful job. So maybe some of your guests could go on our program,
Of course.
and talk about how can we benefit grandparents who are raising their grandkids. But we're just so thankful. We're in a very nonpartisan issue. There's none of this Democrat, Republican issues of gender or race or what have you. It's all about helping grandparents and grandkids. Every dollar that comes in goes out to help them. And it's been absolutely amazing.
Okay, so you brought Kimber with you.
I did, yes.
Okay, so Kimber Bishop Yankee is going to make her way over here. And in full disclosure, I know Kimber.
Yes, yep.
But the thing that's so funny is that, and what we have found since the first time you were on the show,
Right.
is that the connections are amazing. And somebody knows somebody else, and then it's like, oh, wait, I've heard of you. Oh, there you are. It has been really something to do that. So how does Kimber fit into It's a Grand Life?
Well, Kimber is very much involved in dealing with the homeless population in Southeast Michigan, specifically Oakland County. And she will identify grandparents that need help. In fact, last week, there was a grandma and a grandpa raising 2 grandkids, and they needed a down payment for a housing situation. We were able to provide for that. And what's really funny is we go to the same church, and she sits behind me sometimes, and it's almost like the collection plate passes 2 times. But
Funny thing, I go to the same church.
Oh, you do?
No. So you didn't know that, did you? So Kimber, how prevalent is it for like the situation Craig just mentioned?
I don't know the statistics. You probably know the statistics, but I mean, I really started learning about the problem probably the way Craig was connected through Lisa at OLSHA, Grandparents Raising Grandparents.
She was on last week.
Yeah, so she called me to ask me to help with some grandparents, and then I started, like, as the calls are coming in, it's like, oh my gosh, we have all these seniors that are trying to raise their grandkids without any support, and we also have had some seniors that have been kicked out of their senior living because all of a sudden CPS shows up with grandchildren and says, you have to take care of your grandkids, and then they get kicked out of their housing, and there's nowhere for them to go.
Okay, so then you have stepped in, and I mean, I know that hotels have played a part in this somewhat, to some degree, right? I mean,
Yeah, actually, I have. We provide some emergency shelter, and we are full. We have over 30 hotel rooms of homeless families and some individuals. It is a crisis, and it would be great if everyone in the community could help because our neighbors are really struggling. And some of a lot of it's not their fault. We just don't have the safety nets, and the housing market, like the affordable housing doesn't exist. And what happened after the pandemic is landlords, because of the housing shortage, they raised rents, and our families did not get $500 a month increases. So many families were evicted. And right now, I do have a grandmother in the hotel with grandkids, and I don't know how I'm going to help her. There's no pathway. But Craig, with the deposit, because of this family's Social Security and disability, we were able to guarantee the rent to the landlord to be able to get that family into housing. Because the problem is they have to make 3 times the rent.
Right.
So even though this particular family had substantial income from disability and Social Security, it wasn't still 3 times the rent. So I was able to guarantee it and get help from Craig to get them into housing.
That's how it works.
good job, man.
It's,
High five. You know, I mean, it's
Hey, I did.
high five to you too. Sorry, Kimber.
Every time we get someone to housing, I'm like, we just climbed Mount Everest.
Right,
So
for sure.
We
And
just ran a
you
marathon.
you did. You
because
just
it is so hard, so hard. It makes me want to cry every day. Yeah.
the stigma for families, whether it's a grandparent or somebody else who's facing housing insecurity, like you said, you know, listen, they're not in a bad situation. I mean, they didn't do anything wrong. This has just happened to them in some of these instances. And I think that's one thing that people need to understand, that, you know, these people they weren't doing anything illegal or bad. They just got caught in a situation where they're trying to help their grandchildren. And the judging, right? I mean, I think part of it is people tend to, what do you mean you don't have somewhere to live? And the whole judgment factor. And that's what we need to get rid of.
And most people don't realize when they think of homelessness, they think of people that are at the corner of the streets. They don't realize we have hundreds of families right now living in hotels that they can't afford. So a church might be paying a week, a kind stranger might pay a week, but they cannot get help and they can't afford it. And I call it purgatory because there's no pathway for them.
Endless cycle.
Yeah, some of them are paying, you know, $2,400 a month in hotel and storage fees, where they could be living in an apartment or a house if we had a pathway to get them there.
Okay, so how do people, we know how people help you. We've been talking about it for weeks now. No, just kidding.
well, when they help me, they help her.
Right,
So,
and when they help her, they help you.
right.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Kimber. Okay, Kimber, how can people help you?
Yeah, so we need financial donations desperately, just to cover like the families I have right now that we are just taking care of. Shelter and food is about $15,000 a week, and I'm just a little grassroots activist.
I'm just here,
just trying
just
my
doing
best.
this,
Yeah.
just getting it done.
Yes, and if you see me on the street corner holding up my sign, that's about where I'm going to go next. But we also have people that will deliver meals, and we need dishes and couches and beds. And so we are constantly delivering items as well as paying for things. We help negotiate with the landlords and find places. And so we try to, we help them work out their DTE bills. And unfortunately, usually when you have someone who's homeless, you have a lot of complications because once they go down that path, then one problem after the other happens. So like today, I'm going to pick up the grandparents that we housed to take them to the Social Security office. They don't have a car.
Right.
And I know that Oakland County is working on getting more access to public transportation. But that is a huge barrier, is lack of transportation.
Well, so is technology, right? Because, how often do we say, oh, well, you need that resource? Just find it online. Well, people can't find it online because they don't have access to the computer or the iPad or even a phone sometimes. So that is another barrier that I think that people face, right? So even just finding where you can find the help is an issue.
Yes, I'm actually paying somebody's internet bill today.
You get 2 high fives for that. Okay, Kimber. So if somebody wanted to help you, donate financially, donate food, anything, how would they do this?
So we do have a website. It's Kids Empowered on the Move. And some people may know me from my other business, Kids Empowered. So the idea is we are going out into the community to help these kids.
Okay, and Craig, I hope you didn't feel left out of this conversation today.
You can spend all the time on her. I love what she's doing. Yeah.
Okay, so your podcast, it is recorded, so people can go back and search for topics.
Absolutely.
And then also you mentioned having our guests, the first 3 guests here on your show.
Yep.
So please make sure to connect with them.
Okay.
Okay, and then also any advice for grandparents who may just recently be kind of in the situation of taking care of a grandkid?
Well, the last 2 weeks we've brought partners with us.
Yes.
And that we brought them for a reason, and that's because they're really connected in their area of expertise. If you're in Oakland County or Livingston County or Macomb County and you are new to being a grandparent raising your grands, you need to reach out to OLSA, Oakland Livingston Human Services Agency. They have an unbelievable amount of programs designed to help you get oriented to this new role that you've just uncovered. And we're very thankful for the work you're doing with raising your grandkids, but there is help and there's resources. We have a lot of partners and we're learning more we're trying to take on new partners all the time. If we're blessed to raise some funds, boy, we want to help these folks be successful because they have the time and the expertise to really do it right.
And OLSA actually has support groups.
They do, yes.
And I think there's one coming up.
There's one every
right?
month.
Okay, so yeah, and that's in South. There's one in South Lyon, but we can find that on the website.
Right.
Right.
And they have some meetings at their Pontiac location, or they even meet with folks on the Macomb County occasionally and what have you. So, yeah, get with one of our partners and it'll be a lot easier for you. Don't go it alone.
No, and you don't have to go it alone.
No, you don't.
Right. Okay. And how do people find your show, your podcast?
They go to itsagrandlife.com, and they will, or you can check on 29 different platforms. We're on all
29. Show off.
Well, I have a producer who volunteered to produce our show and also put it on his platforms. It's nothing that I've done. Just yes, I know that.
So, funny story. So months ago, Lisa from OLSA had connected us.
Yep.
And then we lost that connection because I lost my producer. So then I started stalking Craig on LinkedIn. And then another person he came on with, Mark, was connected to you.
Right.
It has just been this funny thing of, oh, well, you know that person. Oh, that person's on. And then he'd walk in and be like, what are you doing here? It's been awesome.
Right. It absolutely has. We just appreciate this so much. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. I'll see you at Row House.
Yes, you will.
All right,
That'd
I'll
be great.
see you there. And if you had one thing to say to grandparents, I mean, you said don't go it alone, but any other words of encouragement?
Well, you absolutely need a community. You cannot do this alone. And so I would emphasize. In fact, if you're not sure where to look for the community, go to our website. Itsagrandlife.com, and go to the little information page. Give us your information, and we'll help you get connected to the right group. There's amazing support out there, and we want to help as many grand families as we can.
Okay, thank you, Craig.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you, Kimber.
Thank you.
I appreciate it so much. Okay, so this has seemed like this entire show has been about being our halfway to 100 segment, which is something that I originally, before the show kicked off, I was in my car and realized that my birthday was coming up and thought, oh my God, I'm halfway to 100. So that's really how the segment got named. And it has been part of raising resources for our elderly, calling attention to, the help that they may need. But it's also been about aging gracefully, and that is where Katie comes in.
Thank you, Brooke.
So, Katie, you are a family nurse practitioner.
Yes.
Okay, and I know you because I take my kids to the urgent care all the time where Katie works. But something that I noticed when I was starting to walk in were these beautiful signs of, we heard about the craze of the weight loss drugs.
Yes.
And so all of a sudden you're there like, oh, my lungs hurt. Oh, wait, you do those weight loss shots? What's happening? So you guys have kind of ventured into this.
We have, yes. So we initially started our weight loss program at our urgent care, and it just blew up. And people were, busting out the seams. So we actually opened
Not literally, though. No,
Not literally. We're working on that. No.
There's a shot for that.
So we opened up a new location right down the street from our urgent care, dedicated exclusively for our weight loss program. We call it Express Health, and we offer the semaglutide and tirzepatide injections, and those are the generics for your Ozempic, your Mounjaro, appetite suppressants. They help with weight loss, essentially, right? Yeah.
So, when this first became, when it hit the news, right, it was like, who's doing it? Who's not doing it? Why are you ashamed of doing this? Or, now there's a shortage because people who are diabetic do need it.
Right.
Right? So you guys have ventured into this. You have taken off. And both men and women?
Yes. We get both men and women, more women, but we do get a lot of men that come in as well because obesity doesn't discriminate, right?
For sure, right? So what about, we've heard all the things about the side effects, the good it does. It may take away your alcohol cravings. A lot of different things have come out of this.
It's very interesting. While we've, the medication started as, treatment for diabetes. Then we realized it works for weight loss. Now that we're utilizing it more for that, we realize it has other applications too. So I've had lots of patients say it's helped with inflammation in their joints. It's helped with their alcohol cravings or cigarette cravings. I've read online that there's going to be some research into using this for addiction treatment. So it's a pretty remarkable medication for sure.
Okay, so somebody who comes in, what do they have to do? Besides be weighed, a scary, scary thing.
So it's a very, very easy program. We do walk-ins, so we're open 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. No appointments needed on your first visit. We like to get some blood work done just to establish a baseline of your health. We'll go over some of your weight loss goals, discuss some expectations you can have with the medication as far as how much weight you can lose, what kind of side effects you might have, how long you should plan to be on it. I think a lot of people miss that point. You're going to take this medication. It's a tool in the tool belt.
Right.
It's not doing all the work for you. You have to still, watch what you eat, increase your physical activity, make those lifestyle changes.
Drink water.
But it's not going to be the end-all answer. You still have to do your part, too. It's just
Who should not do this? Are there any health people who have health situations that they should absolutely not do this?
There's really not.
Okay.
There's really not. There's
Okay.
there's a very small population of patients that wouldn't qualify for it. Not enough, I think, that would be worth discussing.
Okay.
The medication is approved for 12 years and older.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So 12 years and older. Okay, now let's talk about the expense because a lot of people, it's not affordable and I can't keep doing this. So
And that's a big issue I've ran into with patients is that they get this prior auth, they jump through all the hoops, get that prior authorization from their insurance. They go to the pharmacy to pick up that medication. Now they have a $600 copay. It's unaffordable for most. Our program's pretty affordable. We offer weekly payment plans. So if you can't, pay a month at a time, you can come in weekly for $65.
Okay.
We have a monthly discount for $199, and it's way less expensive than
Than what-
anywhere else.
And plus what, initially when it came out of what we, it was like thousands of dollars
Yeah.
and people were like, I can't
still
do
is.
this. Yeah,
It
it
still
still
is.
is, right?
Yeah.
So you guys are doing, you've taken off there. Okay, I do know one thing is that people they do have the option to give themselves the shot.
Yes, yeah. One of the keys to success with this is staying consistent. You need to do this every week. That's where your results come in. So if you're not consistent and you can't come into the clinic every week, you have a life, you have kids, you have responsibilities. We offer that option where you can just come in once a month. We'll check in, see how you're doing, address any issues you might have. Yeah, making dose adjustments, and then you can just take the medication home for the month and self-administer it.
Okay, so the idea that some people would be like, I am not giving myself a shot.
Then you can come in once a week and see. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, and I would say most of my patients do that.
they come in.
Yes.
Probably the accountability factor.
That's exactly what it is. I think people like having that accountability. They like to check in. They like to get a pat on the back when they're doing well.
Right.
Right.
Right,
Yeah, that
for
feels
sure.
good. So yeah, I like to see my patients every week. Honestly,
cool.
I've made a lot of good relationships with my patients. So
Yeah, and like I said, we met at the initial urgent care.
Right.
And you guys are so great for the respiratory, I've got a sinus infection. So I appreciate that. And okay, so people who want to check this out, what do they do?
you can go on our website to get some more information, expresshealthuc.com. You can also walk into our clinic at any time. We're open 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., 29405 Greenfield Road in Southfield. Or you could visit our urgent care, Berkeley Urgent Care as well, for extended hours. We're open at that office until 9.
Okay, so people can actually go to either place.
Yes.
Okay.
I would recommend going to the Express Health just because,
Nobody's sick.
nobody's sick.
Nobody's sick
You won't
there.
catch the flu there.
Exactly. And that's a bonus. You'll
Yeah.
lose weight and not catch the flu.
Right.
Okay, so I am actually coming in later today, and I'm going to do one of the shots.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I can't believe I'm doing this, but we're going to do it.
Yes.
And I might not let you see the number on the scale. I might block that off, but I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
Do it for a week, see what happens,
Yeah.
and see the side effects, because I think it's important to kind of check it out and see what people are, are feeling.
And I think that gives me a unique perspective on this too.
'Cause you've
I've-
done it.
I've been on this medication for 2 years.
Okay.
So not only am I able to counsel patients on, what the expectations are, I've lived it.
Right.
I'm still living it. I'm still doing it.
And you look
so.
fabulous living it. So
That's because medicine works.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll just do this right now because this is exciting. Pick a number. Pick a number. Pick a number. We're going to give away one of these.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
Okay. So I am. Do we have a number? Do we have a number? We have lots of numbers. I need to check my phone for 1 minute about the number and see if I have it. There's nothing on my phone about the number. Okay. Okay, fine. 6. Okay, 4.
Somebody have a 4 is on there, the back of your chair. Okay. They're on the, yeah.
Everyone walked out. Okay, 10. 10. Is there a 10? Right here.
Yep.
Oh,
We have a winner.
we have a winner. Tracy's like, what did I win?
This is going to be a $100 gift certificate that you can use at our office. You don't have to use it for weight loss. We offer other injectables as well. We do vitamin C, vitamin D.
You do B12.
B12.
Love the B12.
So we have a lot of other services as well if you're not interested in the weight loss. So
Thank you, Katie. All right, Tracy's like, did I win that? What's happening?
I'm headed there after this. So
And then you'll run into me later today too, right? It'll be a party. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
you're
so much. Okay, so someone else that we have coming on is women-owned business. It is Jenna. And Jenna, you are, because we have the whole idea of AI and people fearing it, right? And I know AI has been played out in the medical field to some degree. But AI can be used for good. And Jenna is actually here. Jenna, hi, good morning.
Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for being here. So we have been working on a project together,
Yes.
and we're not gonna disclose it completely today. But I'm excited.
Yeah.
Right. But AI has played a part in this.
Totally. Yeah.
And so, can you kind of explain what you do, and what you think of AI.
Yeah, it's been a kind of a whirlwind. So I started in videography and photography, and then I was also in technology for about 10 years, but I was really like impressed with AI when it came on the scene because it's something that we haven't really seen across the board. You know, it's different. It functions like a computer, right? And it is a computer algorithm, but
Right.
the performance out of it is remarkable. So we have a platform that we like have users come on and say, what's going on with your business? How can we make it more productive, you know, more efficient, and kind of have a cohesive brand voice? So
And that's what's been so important. So it's really cool because they actually, I call it my bot, right?
Yeah,
So I'm like,
we laugh.
You know, right? I'm like, okay, so bot Brooke, what do you think? And,
Yeah.
and it's kind of crazy because you're kind of mean to your bot.
yeah, sometimes we laugh about that. Like you guys see people all day and it's fun. Like it's a great relationship. So the computer, like a lot of the day I'm talking to the computer, right? So, and I like to be concise with like the prompting and making sure we get the right outputs out of it. So sometimes I'm like, do better, be more concise. And I'm like, oh my word, I need to go to the coffee shop and see people. Yeah, literally touch grass. We say that.
Breathe in that fresh air. You're like, you
Yeah.
know, oh my gosh. So,
Yeah.
okay, so this has been such a huge development and in these different things that you're able to target. And people, you know, AI has gotten a bad rap and with good reason to some degree, right? Because people are afraid of it.
Yeah.
But when you embrace it and kind of use it, I don't want to say, do I say use it for good? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, right? I mean, you use it to target your audience. You use it to get better insight into companies and into your own company and your own brand. So if somebody came to you and said, okay, I need your bot, what am I doing? Where do they start?
Yeah, so we really I look at it in more of a consulting role. So like kind of how we met for a few months and kind of worked together on the podcast studio, and we're partners with Imagine as well. But in the beginning, we say, where is there room for growth? And then what can we do to get you there? And then we use all the tools, being AI and being these different frameworks of technology that we've built for different tasks. So they're kind of like having a PhD in research, and then you have a PhD assistant, because that's really the intelligence level that these models have become to reach. So
Well, and it's kind of crazy because you can actually say who you want to talk to.
yeah,
Right.
That's
So
one of
give
our
me
bread
some-
and butter
yeah,
is
so
like
give me
the
your example.
personas.
Yeah, the personas. This is craziness. So your persona is, give me an example.
Yeah, so there might be a baby boomer. Or we might say someone that just had a spouse pass. And then, so similar to like the kind of groups that we've talked about today, it might be those businesses or those nonprofits raising money, they want to speak to that individual before actually speaking to them.
Right.
So it's kind of
a test run, right?
yeah, it's really synthetic, and that conversation is synthetic in nature, but it's the true emotional response of a typical person in that avenue. And that's created from the market research and the models, kind of looking at relationships and how people communicate in the real world, and then copy and pasting it so they can have an idea of, you know, how they act.
Right. So it's kind of crazy because I was doing an interview with you. I mean, we were on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And so we're on the Zoom call and she is taking notes and talking to me. And then a couple weeks later, you sent me like a rundown of the show and everything. And I thought, oh, well, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, and you're like, well, that was you.
Yeah.
Because the AI took my voice.
Right.
Not literally, but took my voice and just kind of molded how I speak and kind of my attitude and my mind, my frame of mind. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is that. So like on the onset, right when we have that consulting conversation, we say like, where do you want to go with this as a voice or a brand? And then who's like your representation? So it might be you, obviously, because this is Caffeinated Conversations
Right.
with Brooke Allen, right? But for some businesses, like a larger company might be, and it's enterprise, when I say larger, they might say, okay, this is our ideal customer, so we want to really talk in their style or talk to them. Or this is our CEO and we want to represent him as our like icon of the brand. You know, and it's a little bit different conversation when it's a different type of company. But for you, it's great because we can do that and emulate kind of your like quirky funness, you know?
Am I quirky, a little?
In a good way, right?
But it has been so enlightening because I know, being in broadcasting for so many years and, you think of the automated systems, you think of all the ways that your job can be affected. But this is truly using it for good.
Yeah, we like to say too, we bring the data to make an impact, but we still just empower people to say, okay, this is where my business is at, this is where I want to go, what tools can I use to get there?
Right.
And it's not eliminating personnel by any means, and it's not replacing, anything other than a tech stack. Like if you have a bunch of crazy applications you use, we try to silo it so you're on one, and it can
Simplify
make it
it,
easier. Yeah,
right?
really
Simplify
simplifying it.
And it is kind of, the process is a little bit long because
Yeah.
you take so much care and time with this. So if somebody was interested for
Yeah.
the company, maybe a nonprofit out there, I don't know, what would they do?
Yeah, so normally we just set up a meeting. I come check out what it's like, what's day to day, like what's going on, and maybe it's a business, or if it's a show or if it's a nonprofit. I go on a lot of site tours, which is fun.
Yes.
Like last week I was at an airport. So we were at a smaller Oakland County airport, which was cool to see.
Oh.
So just tours of stuff. We talk about where the problems are at, and then we see if there's a fit with the tools that we have.
That is so awesome. And like I said, we're announcing something next week.
Big announcement
big
coming.
announcement coming. Super excited about this. So you'll hear it here next Monday with Jenna. So I am excited about that. It's like a kid on Christmas, right?
Oh, yeah.
Come on,
That's going to be good.
Let's do this. So I'm excited. So any company can reach out to Jenna.
Yes.
Maybe even you guys, right?
Yeah, we did talk. We did talk. Yeah.
Information we did, yes.
Yeah, I knew that.
It's fun because we work with all sorts of brands. So,
Right.
yeah.
And that's
Our
what's
website is jrkgrowth.com.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Jenna.
Yeah, thank you for
And
having
I am
me.
excited
Cheers.
about next week.
It's gonna be good.
All right. Thank you. And I will see you next week.
Yes.
Or I'll see you today. Actually, this
Yes.
afternoon, we'll see that. And then, so we also have had a community partner this month, which is Friends for Animals of Metro Detroit. And did she leave? Oh, okay. So Birdie was here. I don't know if we have a picture of Birdie, but she had to take off. But she is up for adoption, as is Tatiana, who was on the show a couple weeks ago. But we have heard that Tatiana may actually be in the adoption process by one of our viewers. So I am excited about that. And Tatiana was so awesome. She sat literally on a chair for like 45 minutes. It was amazing. So fingers crossed for Tatiana. We will have that update next week as well, I think. So, John Monahan.
Hello, Brooke.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. So, you are with the Redford Theater.
Yes.
Of course, and a volunteer.
We're all volunteers.
You're all volunteers.
Yes.
What is your official title? It's a long one.
Volunteer. I do everything from changing the marquee to managing to film selection to, sweeping up.
Okay, so this is what is interesting about the Redford Theater, which is historic. But from what I read today, it opened today on January 27th.
You're exactly right. Yes,
From
in 1928.
1928, right?
Yes.
So what are the chances of that? So happy
Yeah.
anniversary, Redford
Thank you.
Theater, right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so if you've never been to the Redford Theater, how do you explain it? What?
Gosh, well, the Redford Theater is a neighborhood movie palace, and there were many of them. Every neighborhood had its movie palace, right? But the Redford's the one that stuck.
Yes.
And the reason it stuck is because of this organization called the Motor City Theater Organ Society, who took over in the 1970s and turned it into what it is today. Totally restored it. It's
beautiful.
I know you've been there.
I have been there.
And you'll be there a lot
I will-
more
yes.
soon, which we'll talk about.
Yes, exactly.
But at 1,600 seats, it's quite large. So people come in and say, oh, is it going to sell out? Well, probably not. 1,600 seats is a
That's
lot.
a lot.
But when we have 300 or 400 people, which we did this weekend, it looks very busy.
Well, plus so talk about the organ.
Oh yeah, the organ. The organ
that's the
plays
unique, right?
Exactly. The old Barton Theater organ plays before the films, from usually 7:30 to 8 or 1:30 to 2. So for that half hour before. But like this Saturday, the organ played with a silent film. Which to
Really?
me is the coolest thing
yeah.
ever at the Redford Theater, is seeing silent movies with the organ, which is what the theater was built for, of course.
So, do you play the organ?
Oh, no.
Okay. I must be confused with Ben's dad.
Yes, indeed.
Right? Okay.
Yes,
So
yes.
you do not play the organ,
No.
but you are, so when you are at these events, and I was with you a couple weeks ago, it was the funniest thing. I took Daisy to see Lifeboat, which
Yes.
was Alfred Hitchcock's 1944, I think,
Correct.
right? And she was like groaning and rolling her eyes and like, what am I doing? She loved it.
Good.
It was amazing.
That movie's really involving, and Hitchcock's, working on all cylinders in
Yeah.
1944. And to see that movie uninterrupted and, to really sit and appreciate it. I mean, you get the comedy, you get the drama. That movie really works.
Yeah, it
and
was awesome.
That's what we try to do at the Redford, is create that movie-going experience that just so few people have anymore, especially for the older films, which is what we show primarily.
Right. Okay. So this last weekend was silent.
This last
films.
week, well, we showed The Mummy, the Brendan Fraser film.
Okay.
And then we showed Top Hat, the Fred Astaire Ginger Rogers picture, and then The Lost World, which is a pioneering silent fantasy film with animated dinosaurs.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was just, all of them went really well. I got to say, we're finally coming out of that, post-pandemic slump. We're back. in terms of audiences. It's been great.
Yeah, and then when we were there, so Lifeboat was showing in the afternoon,
Yes.
and then Psycho
Indeed.
was showing that evening,
Yeah.
and it was just all people
was
were like,
packed.
"Oh, I'll see you in a couple hours. We're coming back."
Exactly.
And then there's Larry the T-shirt guy.
Oh, of course. Yeah, there's so many cool extra things. We have 50-50 raffle, Larry, that amazing concession stand where nothing's really more than like $3 or $4.
And I could find Chuckles.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I love Chuckles.
It's pretty well stocked. Shout out to Carl Keeler for keeping that thing stocked.
And
There
there's
are
something
so
about the
many.
popcorn, right?
Yes.
What-
Well, we have real butter.
Yeah, that's the deal.
That's the main
deal,
thing.
right? Okay,
Yes.
so real butter.
Yeah.
So originally, I lived in California for years,
Mm.
and originally when my first experience with the Redford Theater was the Three Stooges Film Festival.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And we got that coming.
That is coming,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's an annual event, and it's very popular.
Right?
Yes.
And then I'm excited for Casablanca.
Yeah, for good reason. Realize that in February, it's all about romance. We got Casablanca for 2. Listen, it's got Casablanca for 2 shows. We've got Roman Holiday. We've got Amelie. We've got that lovely romantic movie called Misery.
Love that
which is
one. I'm all about that.
Kind of an odd choice, but we like to do that, throw in that in the mix. But can I announce your
course,
involvement?
yes, of
Okay.
course.
So we have enlisted Brooke to be one of the MCs. I coordinate the MCs. And actually, I got to credit Linda Seitz for bringing you on board.
Right.
And you're a natural, let's face it.
Well,
to
thank
have you on that stage introducing Casablanca, which you're going to do at the matinee.
February 15th, right?
Exactly.
It's my Valentine date.
On the matinee.
Yes.
And it's just going to be great because that movie always sells.
Oh, yeah.
And
No.
we're showing that on actual film, which is kind of a big deal for us.
Okay.
Is to show these movies in actual film prints the way they would have been shown, back in the 1940s.
Okay, yeah, I'm super excited about this. And of course, Barbie is a member.
Yeah,
Oh.
I've been
Oh.
a member at the Redford Theater for about 25 years.
Too
Well,
cool.
I should say the Organ Society.
Exactly.
Member of the
Oh,
Organ
so the
Society.
Yes, which
Society,
anybody
yeah.
can
Okay.
join. It's a $25 annual membership.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, we'd love to have people on board, especially for volunteers. We're always looking for volunteers.
Okay, so for volunteers, you can also rent out this space,
You
right?
sure can. There's a lot of rentals. In fact, we have those candlelight concerts. Those are incredible. Like next weekend, we have, they're doing, I think, the Beatles one night and Coldplay another. It's like a small chamber ensemble, and they have like 1,000 little fake candles. It's
Really?
quite an atmosphere.
Wow.
And that's a rental.
Okay.
And then we're partnering this weekend with the Popovich Comedy Pet Theater.
Yes, I'm
which
excited
is super
about
cool.
that.
It's on Saturday at 3.
Okay.
And that, boy, he's been through a number of times. He's a former circus performer from the Ukraine who brings these rescued animals in. And there's everything from dogs and cats to a parrot to a little horse. It's pretty astounding. As somebody that has cats,
Right.
what he gets the cats to do, I don't know what
You're
I
like,
don't know
"That
what
is
he's bribing them
shocking."
with, but must be a lot of catnip on that bus because they do amazing things.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, my dog has vertigo still, so I'm like, yeah, maybe he can join.
Yeah, yeah. But it's quite wonderful. I took my own kids to see that, but adults like it too. It's
Right.
a $35 ticket for adults and $15 for kids.
Okay, and
it's,
that's
I think,
Saturday at 3?
Super affordable. Yeah,
No, it is.
Just one show, and we always do it on Sunday, so it's on a Saturday this year, which I'm appreciative of.
Okay, so then we've got, so that's Saturday, and then what is
And
the
then
next?
the Sunday we got something special too. We did a little pop up. We don't usually show films on Sunday, but Sunday happens to be Groundhog Day. So we're showing the Bill Murray picture Groundhog Day, and already from the pre-sales with great success. So
Very cool.
to see that movie on the day, no matter what
Right.
that little rodent says about the rest of the winter, it's going to be a blast.
Oh, that is
and
so
that movie
awesome.
just, you can never not watch that.
No,
I'm
for
sorry,
sure.
John. Can you say that again?
Yeah.
You got me.
So people, can you buy tickets for the Redford online?
Oh, you sure can.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can walk in as well.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, again, but if you want to, especially in cold days, it's nice to just kind of
Yep.
cut the line.
Right, for sure.
But yeah, redfordtheater.com. You can buy any ticket for any show. And we've got things already, online right through May. But then we've already scheduled our summer, so
Really?
we're way ahead of things.
Okay, and Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind's coming up
Okay.
this spring as well. 2 shows.
Okay.
We have a woman named Kathleen Marcaccio who's like an expert, like a nationally known expert on Gone with the Wind, and she'll appear again, as she has in the past.
I don't give a damn. No, just kidding.
So that's,
we can slap
seeing a
Happy
movie like that big. We're doing Dr. Zhivago this year too, which we haven't done in forever.
Really?
So to see that on a big screen is pretty special.
See, and I've heard some people like go, like they're gonna, because
Please
it's-
do.
because you don't, you hear about the Redford, you hear about the Oregon, but when you actually start going and
Yeah.
experience it,
And it's such a
really
reasonable ticket, $7,
$7,
and then it's
right?
$5 for seniors and kids. So I
okay.
mean,
And
and
the
again,
concessions are
so
not
cheap.
Yeah, so
we
cheap.
keep trying to raise the prices, but no, it's nice. It's really nice to have that. You know, as somebody had my own family and still do, but to take kids
Right.
out for an event like that, it can
and
be
give
really
them a little bit more
expensive.
culture, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
And hear the organ. That is amazing. So yeah.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank
you
you for
being
having me
here.
on, and thank you for volunteering to do MC work.
I am
You're going to also
excited.
be on. Remember, you're going to be on When Harry Met Sally.
Oh yeah, right.
So
That's going to be a good one.
That's going to be fun.
Nothing could possibly go wrong during that.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you,
I'll
John.
be in the audience for that.
Yeah, seriously, I appreciate it, and I know Barbie, you have been there. Ben's dad
Oh.
is actually
And Ben's one of the MCs as well.
for Groundhog Day, I think, right?
Oh, you're doing that too?
Yeah.
And you did The Mummy this past weekend. Yes.
Oh, see, so he's been busy. So
It's a
see,
small family,
it's
isn't
a
it?
small little world.
It
you know?
is. It
so,
is.
thank you again for hanging out with us today. I appreciate it. And
Yeah.
Does the Redford have coffee?
Oh, some days, not always. We had it for the David Lynch tribute. We had coffee and donuts. Hey, and kudos to your son. As a high school teacher, I would have really welcomed a kid like that, and always did.
Thank you.
So, yes.
I appreciate
Yes.
that.
And as somebody who always dressed up at school, which not a lot of teachers do, I really would have been very aligned with him.
You know, so real quick on that note, I don't know if I mentioned it, that one of the teachers said that he actually dresses better than the teachers.
So, tell me about
So
it.
there was one thing. And then the other thing is that anytime we're out, I mean, we've been in Detroit, we've been at concerts, no matter where we are, people stop him and shake his hand and say, hey, buddy. I had one person stopped him at LCA and said, did she make you do this? And he's like, nope, it's all me. And the guy like high-fived him and said, you know what? That is so classy.
Yes.
And he got stopped 3 times.
Wow.
For people coming up to him. So I just, it is a struggle for me as a
Right.
mom to be like, how can I tell my kid not to look nice and do what makes him feel good? Uh-huh. And he's not hurting anyone.
Right, right.
So I appreciate you saying that.
Yes.
So thank you so
Sure.
much. So Barbie.
Yes. Yes, Brooke.
So we, I know that they're wondering, Posh Nail Salon in Troy, they're wondering why I haven't been in. Usually I go in every week. I've actually managed to I was like, I guess I'll keep the color. How's your color?
It's the same
the same
one.
one,
I
right?
know. It lasts forever.
Yes, no.
I had the dip with, can I buy you a drink?
Exactly. So we have another gift certificate for Posh Nail Salon in Troy. They are wonderful. One of my favorite places. I go there and they have this new thing that I think I'm going to try tomorrow. They have a steam pedicure. And I was like, what is that all about? So I think I'm going there tomorrow to check it out. But I don't know about numbers. We seem to have had an
boy.
how about
Yep.
numbers today.
No,
So
we just have people in the seats. We should just do musical chairs.
So just raise your hand. How about 2? Oh. All right. So we've got that one. We have one more for next week. So I'm excited about that. And another exciting announcement is that our next After Dark is scheduled for February 12th. It is a Galentine theme. And we're super excited about this. It's going to be 6 to 9, first glass of wine on me. And we're just going to have a lot of fun. We actually have a rom-com mashup. I call that the tragic com of my life because, we all know how that's gone with my dating and everything. In fact, funny story, I know we're so late, but this is so hilarious. I met somebody on New Year's Eve. We exchanged phone numbers, and he has we've tried to get together like 3 times. Every time I've had to cancel. And so I got the big blow-off message the other day.
Well, yeah.
He was like,
Well, yeah.
He was like, clearly this is not a priority for you. And I'm like, you got me. So anyway, so rom-com mashup, glass of wine, a lot of different interviews. Of course, we'll have Carrie Craywick here. She'll be talking about relationships or lack thereof. And it's just going to be a fun time. I want people, girlfriends to come and talk about their friendships and maybe their different relationships with their mother. And I mean, just keep the world going, right?
I also have somebody writing a little skit for you about
Really?
dates. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Maureen Paravanti. She's a local writer. Yeah. Well, I asked her to if you approve. It's
yeah,
kinda
of course.
Yeah.
It's like,
So
okay.
yeah.
No, so that is coming up. Those tickets are posted. Those are available.
Yep.
February 12th. New month next week. February, of course, our Caffeinated Act of Kindness will be changing. We'll announce that on Monday. And we are, I guess that's it, huh?
I guess that's it. But I talk about this every single time. You bring people together, and it's just amazing. It's I could talk about every single thing that happened here, knowing from my personal experience to someone else's personal experience, or the networking that obviously everybody's out there talking about, handing out information,
Yeah, it's cool.
cross-referencing, and so forth. So I just make you go over by just singing your praises all the time.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. All right. So, Mind, they are the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders. I do have to give them a big shout out because when my stress level goes up, my migraines hit me hard, and I have been stressed, needless to say, with stuff going on with the kids. So I just wanted to give them a big shout out. They have 35 specialists. They do specialize in MS, also Alzheimer's, and they just recently opened the Headache and Facial Pain Center, which I can tell you I used to have migraines up to 3 times a week. Also had meningitis, and it was, they helped me through all of that. And now when I do get a migraine, because the medication that they figured out for me, it doesn't knock me out for 3 days. It only knocks me out for about an hour, and I can wake up ready to face the day. So a big shout out to Mind. You can find more information about them, mindonline.com. Another great thing about them is that they also have everything under one roof. So you don't have to make an appointment for an MRI, CAT scan, different locations, different times. You can just get it all done in one location, and that is super convenient. They are located in Farmington Hills, and they also have an office in Dearborn Heights and also Roseville. So again, big shout out to them, big thank you to them, mindonline.com. Big thank you to you. I know this is the second time we've gone over, but I just could not stop talking. So thank you so much for being here. We will see you next week. Until then, keep the coffee hot. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.